Hello, this is George Hutton, and you are listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. Today we begin our study of something called Weaponized Hypnosis. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/weaponized-hypnosis. Introduction. Once upon a time, the ruler of the universe was getting ready to retire. Before he did, he wanted to choose a replacement. He already had somebody in mind, but he wanted to make sure. After all, being in control of the universe is a pretty important job. "Yes, sir, you wanted to see me?" the ruler's most favorite subordinate asked. "Yes, I want you to cook me the best thing in the world," he asked. "Yes, of course, at once," the underling replied before hurrying away. The ruler waited patiently, and the underling returned. He had cooked a tongue. "A tongue? Why a tongue?" the ruler asked. "A tongue can say wonderful things and create deep feelings of pleasure in others," he replied. The ruler smiled and nodded. "Very well. Cook me the worst thing in the world," the ruler asked. "Of course," the underling said and hurried off. The ruler waited patiently until the underling returned. The ruler said. "Interesting. Another tongue," he said, glancing up at his favorite subordinate. "Explain," he added. "Well, a tongue can say horrible things, destroy relationships, reputations, and cause a life of pain and misery," he said. The ruler smiled and nodded. "Very well. The job is yours," the ruler said. Silly story? Who eats a tongue anyways? But the meaning is clear and obvious. The power of our words is infinite. The power of words can move people to great feats of accomplishment. The movie The King's Speech centered around the importance of not only the words themselves, but how they are delivered. Think of your favorite actor in your favorite movie. Now imagine your best friend playing the lead role. Everything else would be the same director, same writers and co-stars, except the lead actor has been replaced by your friend. Is it the same movie? Can you even watch without laughing? Actors are paid huge sums of money because they can deliver their lines with sincerity and believability. When they show emotions and tears, we believe they are real. Even when we see them later in an interview talking about where they find their emotional motivation. We even are disappointed when we see our favorite actors in interviews. When they are in character, they are unbeatable, supremely confident. Yet, when they speak in interviews, they seem shy and lacking self-confidence. The power of communication is immeasurable. We all have the experience of saying something in the heat of the moment that we wish we could take back, but we cannot. Those simple phrases or sentences that can potentially destroy a relationship. We can say, "I didn't mean it" 1,000,000,000 times, but the damage is done. Words have incredible power. The word spell is used to describe how magic words, when put together in the right order and said in the right way, can affect the target in terrible or wonderful ways. Love spells, hexes, curses, all these are the stuff of fantasy, but that very same word, spell, is what we use to put the letters in order. The most beautiful words ever written or spoken would be utterly meaningless if the letters were jumbled around. Letters, when put together properly, can cause deep and powerful emotions. Words together in the right order can have a significant effect. And as we saw from the silly story before, words can cut both ways. Words can cause great happiness, or they can cause great agony and misery. Few know their power. However, how many of us actually think about the words that we say? In the movie 300, about the events leading up to the historical Battle of Thermopylae, messenger from Persia, after delivering his threat to King Leonidas, said, "Choose your next words wisely." How often do we choose our words wisely? Rarely, if ever. When most of us speak, we have vague ideas in our minds that we try and accurately describe with words chosen randomly. Even the leaders of the free world speak in gibberish when they don't think anybody is listening. One of the most shocking revelations of the Nixon-Watergate scandal was when the tapes and the subsequent transcripts were leaked to the press. For the first time, the public could read what was being said behind closed doors in the Oval Office, and it was not pretty. On a grammatical level, it was atrocious. In the movies, we see characters speaking in complete sentences, well-thought-out ideas filled with descriptive language. But in real life, the language spoken by Nixon and his aides sounded nothing like those characters in the movies. Half sentences, garbled words, vague references to previously spoken nouns. Few know their potential. Most of us have vague thoughts, spit out jumbles of incomplete sentences, and hope for the best. If we are in a meeting with important people, we take our time and we are careful. The more time we have to prepare, the more we can think about what we say. But sometimes we don't have any time to prepare. It's a very common experience to suddenly find yourself in a situation that calls for verbal dexterity, only to perform much less powerfully than you'd like. Then later, when we are safely at home, we think of what we could have said. We think of what we could have done. Proactive words. The most common type of conscious language practice involves speaking about things we hope to achieve. We practice a speech we are going to give in school. We rehearse in the car on the way to work before asking for a raise. We rehearse in the mirror before asking out a person who has our romantic interest. We think carefully about what we want to say to our partner or spouse to make sure they understand us without getting their feelings hurt. These kinds of verbal preparation are common and familiar. Within these is also the idea of preparing ourselves for their potential objections. If we have a good idea of why our boss will tell us he can't give us a raise, we plan and think of a reason why that is not a big issue. Salespeople who hear the same objections over and over can come up with ways to overcome those objections. Advanced salespeople know how to overcome those objections, turn them into benefits, and work them into the sales pitch so they don't become objections in the first place. But one area that few of us ever think to practice is the defensive arts. Fight or flight. We all have a built-in response system for when danger unexpectedly shows up. This is the familiar fight or flight response. When a threat appears, we are suddenly filled with adrenaline. Our higher thinking shuts off, and we have two options: fight for our very survival or run away as fast as we can. When we are confronted with a verbal threat, our ancient minds still interpret this as a real threat and delivers the same response. This comes across to our conscious minds as, I want to get away from this situation. If you are physically confronted by a stranger on the street, you would flee. But if you couldn't flee, you would be forced to fight. Verbal fighting skills. Just as many people practice martial arts for many reasons as a defensive skill, we can practice the verbal arts as a defensive skill. Why do this? The world is a very dangerous place. The world is filled with people who would love to take advantage of us, sometimes just for the thrill of it. When somebody physically accosts us, it's clear they are doing something wrong. Every society has built into it the idea that physically touching somebody without their permission is forbidden. However, there are many situations where verbal attacks are fine. You offer up an idea in a meeting to your boss, and your colleague with whom you are competing for a promotion shoots it and you down. Nobody thinks anybody does anything wrong. The boss may even give them a promotion instead of you because of their focus and ruthlessness. While physical attacks are forbidden, verbal attacks can be welcome. Up until now, you may have felt defenseless in those situations. Not anymore. Just as one can study martial arts and project an energy of confidence and strength, so can you with your words. And as we learned in the story before, words can be deadly. I'm George Hutton. Thank you for listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/weaponized-hypnosis. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.